Global here. Welcome back to another stream. Today we are doing the Club 49 aftermath, and we are also doing a little bit of a special stream because this stream will be the last stream that I will be probably doing on this phone. Now, I say this, I'm not completely certain if that statement is 100% true or not. So basically, I have ordered a new phone, and the new phone is coming on a next day delivery to my friend's house because he has an Amazon Prime. I don't, so I just basically gave him the money and said, "You ordered a phone." However, I am going into a really busy week where I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to him to actually collect the phone. I've got a lot of work things happening. So we've got our work events and things tomorrow. We've got loads of things happening during the week with work and just leading up to that final week before Christmas. Apart from that, I just don't know when I'm going to get chance to go and collect a phone. But I'm sure there will be always a way to collect it or to go and do it somehow. So if I do end up getting it like tomorrow, then this will more than likely be the last stream that I ever do on this phone. And I think it will be good to be on a new phone. I think the camera quality is going to be a lot better. You might even be able to hear me a little bit more clearly, and I think it'll just be all round more powerful phone. It'll, the signal will be better on it. This phone's been dropped a couple of times. I've had this phone a couple of years now, and it served me very well, but more recently it started to show a lot of signs of failing. So it crashes a lot of times. It kind of freezes quite a lot of the time, and it can sometimes quite often become quite laggy. When loading up apps and things, quite often it'll say like Facebook is not responding or YouTube is not responding, and it can be quite an annoying thing. It's not the easiest thing to it can't be, it's not the easiest thing to deal with. And I've been putting it off and putting it off due to the fact that I can somewhat get it to charge on a night, and I can somewhat still use it. As to, I don't want to fork out and buy a new phone. Well, I kind of do. I'm just very greedy, and I don't always like parting with money. But I finally decided that I just need to bite the bullet and get a phone, and an opportunity came up where I just thought, right, today I'm going to order that phone, we're going to get it done, and then it's done. It's out the way. So anyway, on to the matter at hand. So today we're doing the aftermath of the Club 49 grand opening. So myself and the layman, we went to this brand new Club 49 for the first time that was opening its doors as a brand new business for the first time, and they booked us to DJ for not one but 2 nights. And I'm going to tell you all about kind of how it went down. So the whole experience was good and bad. So unfortunately, I'm not going to come on here and tell you that it was like the best gig that I've ever done, blah, blah, blah. There was actually quite a lot of stress involving around the gig, which wasn't anything to do with the gigs, with the person who booked me. It wasn't, it was kind of things before the gig that really was just due to my own fault, really, that caused a little bit of stress. So basically, last week I needed to get some tracks together. I needed to get some like commercial sort of R&B tracks together, and I'm really busy at work at the moment because we're leading up to Christmas, and I've been working quite a lot during the day, and then doing some like sessions in the evening as part of my youth work, And then I've been coming home and then coming on the computer and downloading files upon files of tracks. It was just kind of in as much as I needed to do it. It was like the last thing on my mind. I was coming home at like 9 o'clock at night, and these tracks I needed to get them, and then I kept putting it off, and then a couple of days had gone by, and it was nearer the gig, and then it came to Thursday night, Friday, and tried to get these tunes, and I would just ran into like the internet connection going slow. I ran into like just loads of different things. So I found a website on Friday, and it was full of like the top 100 R&B songs, and there was some really good stuff in there. So I begin downloading this folder, and I go and start getting myself ready because it's gig day. Leave it downloaded. Gets to about 3 minutes before the file is finished downloading, and well, it gets to about 5 minutes, and my phone tethers the internet. That so I because I've got unlimited mobile data, so I don't have internet with a company. I just tether because I have pretty good signal and stuff like that. So basically my phone was tethering my computer. Got to about 5 minutes before the download was due to finish, and me being the daft, stupid, silly old me, decided that I was going to make a phone call to a family member, because I hadn't spoken to them for a couple of days, and got some family stuff going on as well. So I gave them a ring, and after the phone call, my phone decided that it was going to freeze. Now, when my phone freezes, there is absolutely nothing that you can do. Like, the phone freezes, the only thing you can do is you've got to hold a couple of buttons down on the phone to basically restart the phone and reboot the phone up, and obviously when you do that, it turns the hotspot off and you lose the tether. So I knew this time that I can't do that because it'll lose the tether. So the only other option I thought that I could possibly do was just to leave it on the froze screen. And by leaving it, it kept the tether on, so the file could still carry on downloading. However, when you leave it, after a while, the phone turns off automatically and reboots itself. It just, for some reason, it does it automatically. So I was kind of on borrowed time. Will it turn off before the file downloads? Blah blah blah. And unfortunately, me being the silly old me, it didn't, and the phone turned off before the file finished downloading. So I tried to turn it on as quick as possible, get it booted back up so I could just resume the download. Unfortunately, it wanted to start the download again from the beginning. So I was on borrowed time, and then I realised that within this folder you could download some of the tracks individually without having to download the whole thing. So I just went and selected a good 10 or 12 and put them into my already existing R&B folder just to make sure that we had enough. But I was on borrowed time because I needed to get to where the layman was going to pick me up so we could go to this gig essentially, which was like the crazy thing. So the traffic was mental. So instead of the layman coming to pick me up, I said that I'd just make my way to his end because it would be easier, to go on a bus rather than him getting stuck in all the traffic, and the whole traffic is a nightmare. So I got held up a little bit with that stuff, so I walked as quick as I could to the bus station, and then there wasn't a bus for like 15 minutes. That was just really annoying, and I was thinking, you know what, I could start walking towards your end a lot quicker than it would take for me to wait for this bus. So we arranged a meeting point, which was a McDonald's car park, sort of up a road called Anlaby Road in Hull, and I walked there, and I've never walked there as so fast in all of my life, which was just absolutely crazy. And then basically I get there, we jump in the car, we grab a bit of fuel, get a quick meal deal snack from the Tesco's, and start heading up towards the venue. And then when we get to the venue, we have a little bit of issue trying to set the sound up. And I think, in all honesty, when I look back at the situation, when I assess the situation, I think I was just already stressed, and I think I didn't really analyse the situation properly, and just got myself more stressed without really thinking about the situation. Which the situation was very simple. I just couldn't seem to get any sound to come from the amp, and then there was a subwoofer on the floor, and the main plug socket to it had been pulled out just ever so slightly. So when you're not physically right up at the socket, it looks like it's plugged in, but it wasn't. It was just out ever so slightly, and it was stopping it from making a connection. So we had no power to the subwoofer at first, to the point where the venue even rang the sound guy that fitted the system in, to then, and he just said, is it plugged in? And I was thinking, of course it's plugged in, you can see there it's in. And then we went right up to the socket to realise it just wasn't fully in properly. So that got the subwoofer on, or the sub bass, the sub speaker, whatever you want to call it. And then we just couldn't get a sound from the amplifier at first. I got a bit just worked up, and I wasn't sure what channel to go into at first. And then we got sound, and then we was away to what was a good night. Apart from that, we had no issues ourselves. Everything went really, really smoothly from that point on, and everything went really well. So the first night, it wasn't the busiest night on planet Earth. We was kind of hoping that it would have been a little bit more busier than it was. And it was quite a lot of people came more just to have a nosy. So people were like, oh, there's a new venue that's opened, and they'd come up and they'd have a little look upstairs. But because there wasn't really too much going on upstairs other than us playing a bit of music, they'd have a little look, they'd have a little dance for a couple of songs, and then they'd go back down and sit downstairs at the bar, or they'd go on to another venue. So we didn't have the busiest night, but we still had a lot of fun. We played loads of amazing music, and the staff and everybody that ran the venue, they were really happy with what we'd done. We'd basically, gone there and more or less done exactly what they wanted us to do. We nailed all the R&B, which I'm not gonna lie, that was the thing I was worried about the most, because I know my R&B to an extent, but I don't know it as in it's not my typical genre. I know it as in I've heard it thousands of times on the radio. I recognise songs by hearing it, but I don't necessarily know always know the track titles and the artists, and I don't always really know. I'm not too clued up about the genre enough to know what type of tracks to get, as in what the tracks are called. I know if I hear a neo track, I know I've heard it before. And to be fair, we just played loads of we played the stuff really that I was actually clued up on, which was the noughties R&B, which was kind of your typical Black Eyed Peas, your neo, DJ's Got Us Falling in Love Again, and all of that kind of stuff really, and the little bit of Nelly, and a little bit of I Got Five on it and stuff, which is stuff I'm quite clued up on, to be fair, and I think I sort of doubted myself and underestimated. So we played loads of good R&B stuff. Mainly the layman played that mainly. He did a 2-hour set, and then I came on after, and we kind of went into some housey stuff. I played some dancey, sort of housey, some remixy stuff. So some of the drops were a little bit heavier than your normal average sort of just groovy house drop, because they sort of said they didn't really want too much in the way of house. But I just thought, a little bit of house that it just sped up a little bit and played a bit faster with some sort of a little bit heavier drops will go in nicely to go next to kind of start making it a bit more clubby. And then later on, we went into like Clubland and Bounce and had a really good time. And these lads came in and they kept wanting to give us shots and they kept wanting to give us drinks, like alcoholic drinks. And we don't drink. And then also, of course, the layman was driving back, so we had to be kind of like no, like having cokes and stuff. And we brought some drinks with us, which was really good. And then we had a little bit of a roundup of the first night, and we said, well, hopefully it's a little bit more busier, the following day. And they requested that could we bring any form of speakers. So we were kind of like, yeah, that's no worries. Didn't even really think about it, to be honest. Yeah, I've got speakers, let's bring them. It came to the next day, and then I sat there and I thought, hang on a second, how are we going to plug these speakers in, like on a level, like, and I was trying to analyze it in my brain, like how will we get these speakers to play, you know how will we get them to play essentially any sound. And I was trying to think about it, and then we came up with some little ideas in the mess. And then we went to the club with the speakers, had a little bit of a play around at the back of the amp, and then we managed to get some sound, which, in all honesty, the sound wasn't the best. Like, I wasn't 100% happy with the sound. I think it was my speakers. I think my speakers, I've had them speakers for quite a while, and I think because there was quite a lot of power going into them, it was going from like quite a big amp, and when I have them at home, I don't have the speakers turned up really loud because like they're just at home, so I don't really need them loud. I've noticed like recently when I've been taking them to do like any form of gigs, and I've had to like have the speakers quite loud, that I've been getting like the sound's been distorting, and then the speakers have been getting hot quite quickly. Whereas at home, I sometimes, quite often, I actually just do like a headphone mix. Because sometimes if I do like a radio show, some like on a Sunday at 10 o'clock, which I didn't do it this week, by the way. But by that point, it's a little bit late to put to start having the speakers blasting at home. I do it sometimes late, like if I've got some friends over, but even then, like I don't try to have it like absolutely, belting loud. So like, I don't really notice it at home, but then in a venue, it's like they seem to distort quite a bit. So I think my speakers are just, and they've been dropped a couple of times, and I think I probably just need to get some new speakers, but they really seem to distort. But then we kind of got them all right, and then the owner of the venue, or one of the owners, said like having them speakers was, it was a godsend. Like, it really boosted the overall, and it made it like you could hear it a bit more from outside and stuff, which was quite good, and made it sort of sound a bit more like it was an open venue. So the second night it wasn't really, it could have been a lot busier, to be fair. And again, like, people just kind of ventured in, and people were kind of nosy, and really, as opposed to, what is this kind of thing. And I think the thing about it is, people were coming upstairs to nosy, and then kind of seeing kind of how quiet it was upstairs, that was kind of putting them off wanting to stay upstairs because there wasn't many people upstairs. So they'd come upstairs, and then they'd think the vibe's not good in here, there aren't many people in here. So then they'd go back downstairs. So I think that the lack of people was definitely putting people off actually wanting to come upstairs. Whereas if like somebody came upstairs and they stayed for a bit, and then somebody else came up and did the same, and then some more came up, it might have built a little bit of momentum. But the second night we just followed pretty much the same strategy. Started off with the R&B for a couple of hours, then I went into some kind of like housey stuff, some dancey stuff. But then on the Saturday night, we took it a little bit more clubby, a little bit more earlier. So we went into like Clubland and bounce a little bit more earlier on. Whereas on the Friday we didn't go into the Clublandy bouncy stuff until a little bit more later on, sort of 11, 12. Whereas on the Saturday we kind of went into that stuff kind of more like 10, half 10. I'd only played like the dancey stuff for a little bit, and then I'd kind of decided, the owner said like, right, start bouncing it up because there's some people coming about, and let's get the vibe going. So we did. But like I say, unfortunately, they just could have done to have been a few more people there. But the people that came in and the people that came up, they really enjoyed themselves. We had some people singing and dancing, which is still kind of what it's all about. Although, I know, like, we all would have loved to have just seen it that little bit more busy, but we've got Mad Friday next weekend as well. There's quite a few factors to take into account, like maybe the weekend it actually opened wasn't the best weekend. Everybody will be out next weekend when it's Mad Friday, so maybe they're saving themselves this weekend. Also, the people know it's open. I think as a thing, I think the venue could have just done a little bit more to make it look like it was open, because it didn't really look too much like it was open. And there was a double door, and then kind of next to it there was like a single door. And they were using the single door, but like when you look at the place from the outside, it kind of looks like the double doors would be the one. And essentially you wanted that, and then also like there was some vinyl wrapping on the window that kind of blocked up half of the view. And people just weren't really sure like what it was about, to be fair, and there isn't really too much indication to what it was about. So I think that was another factor. But apart from that, we had a really really good time. I enjoyed myself. We had a good laugh with the owners and the people that worked there, and they were really like, they were really buzzed at, they said I was a really good DJ, which, I got some really nice feedback, in terms of like, being a DJ. That, there was even one guy who, he was like head of all the doormen there. He was like the head doorman, and he was just kind of like, he came up and he was videoing me, and he was kind of like, like, this is great, like you're doing really well. And I've done the doors for, for big events like Gatecrasher and Good Grief, and real big kind of like rave and dance events back in the day. And he said like, your energy and your passion behind the decks was better than some of the people I've seen at some of them, gigs. And I just thought like, that is, I'm really obviously, buzzed that they obviously, that he thought that, pardon, which really boosted me confidently, on a confidence level. That was really good. That really made me feel good. So we had a really good time, and I really enjoyed myself. And they want me back. Like, they've actually already said a date that they want us back, and the date is crazy, because the date is over a year away. That is how crazy the date is. Which they basically, they wanted us for New Year's Eve this year, which, in all honesty, the woman's kind of crazy for thinking that, because the layman himself is always busy on New Year's Eve, like, like way before now. In a year, the layman knows what he's doing on New Year's Eve. Like, that's the crazy thing. But me and the layman, we already got booked on New Year's Eve. And what is the crazy thing is, I've had to turn down 2 offers to do a gig on New Year's Eve, because because I've already been booked. Like, I got booked really early for New Year's Eve. It came in really early with the layman. It was almost kind of like, I think about March or something. this year when we was at this doing a gig at this venue that this guy who owns the venue said we want you for New Year's Eve, which I have a gig announcement to do about that. So I'll be doing that in the next, hopefully in the next couple of days. So that came in really crazy. So this Club 49 that wanted us for New Year, it wasn't available. So they said, right, well, we want you for the following New Year. So we haven't, we've got to discuss yet, like whether she was just kind of having a bit of a joke. But I get the vibe and the hint that she was being sort of deadly serious. So we've got to obviously communicate to to discuss things properly. But by the sounds of things, like the 16th of December, that it is now 2024, I have been booked for the 2025 New Year's Eve, which is absolutely crazy. Like, that is mental. So we'll see. We'll see if it, what happens. But that is obviously a crazy thing. But despite that, all New Year's aside, she does want us back after this New Year at some point, and I think she's got a few little plans with the venue. So it should be quite good in that sense, and hopefully there can be a little bit of progression with the venue as well, which will be a really good thing. So so basically we had a really good time. The only thing really was there just could have done to have been a few more people at the venue coming in. It could have been advertised a little bit more better. It could have been promoted better, but unfortunately they were still trying to get the venue and things ready for opening. I think maybe for us, I think maybe we came to do the gig too early. She gave us some dates. We picked these dates, selected, and we then realised that it was actually the grand opening weekend. So then that way we thought, oh well, we'll give it a grand opening party. That might make it a bit more entertaining. Whereas I think if we'd have gone in a week's time, or we'd done sort of like next week on the Saturday or something, it might have been a bit of a different story. There'd have been an extra week to promote, and it would have given the venue a chance to get open as well. But we live and we learn. We still had a really good time, and we still thanks the venue for having us, and we can't wait to work with them in the future. As all the staff was absolutely, like, I couldn't thank them enough, like, for how nice they were, and offering us a drink, and and just making sure that we're all right. Like, they really looked after us, which was really good, and it was a big buzz. So I was proper buzzed. I've definitely still come away happy from the weekend, and we move on and we move forward. Next weekend is going to be a whole different ball game, because we are at Babylon with Friday Night Posse. So Friday Night Posse, I've always liked him, rated him as a DJ, and Harry, who is a part of Friday Night, who kind of still keeps the name going and kind of keeps the everything they've done going. I think that the other member, I think he left, or I don't know what happened, but now Harry does Friday Night Posse sort of as himself. But anyway, I didn't realise how much Harry did as a person. I didn't realise the aliases that he was, and my eyes kind of opened up. I knew he was a big part of Clubland, but I just didn't know that he'd been he also was dancing DJs, who had made some like absolute Clubland smashers. So that was amazing to find out. So I'm looking forward to the weekend. Lehman hosting me. We got good vibes going off. That is going to be a shed load of fun. We're on just before Harry at 9 o'clock, so I'm looking forward to that. And we will hopefully have a really, really good vibe. and I went into town on Thursday, and there is posters all around the area, on the billboards, on the lamp posts, and it's there with the flyer, and it's my name on it. And it was kind of a real surreal moment. Like, you walk into town and my logo is on a flyer that is on a lamppost in town. And it was kind of, for me, it was that surreal thing of like, wow, like, like, I'm on a poster with a guy who's done so much, like, musically. And a big part of my childhood was Clubland. And he was on every single album officially released album, Clubland albums. The series going up from like one to I think 2017 was the last one um, that they did. It went up to like Clubland 22 or something, and then I think they carried on as like a Spotify playlist, or something like that. But anyway, like, it was just crazy, like, to go into town and then your name's there, and and it's in town, and you're like, oh my god, like, my name, like, my, because seeing it on a flyer online, like, that is still like a buzz in itself. But then you go into town, and like, like, people are just going to be walking, and then they'll see that poster there, and then they'll, and then my name's there, and I just kind of think, like, this is crazy, like, this is quite mad. So, do I remember a channel called Irish MCs? Yeah, I do remember a channel called Irish MCs, actually. I do remember it. Um, I vaguely remember it. You owned it. That is crazy. You got me on it. I do remember. I remember at the time, it was a buzz. At the time, it was a buzz because, like, I don't really MC. Well, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. So I don't really MC like I used to do anymore. I'll grab the mic in a nightclub. I do a lot of positive reggae tracks, so like, I rap over I rap over like positive reggae beats and stuff, and I write meaningful hip hop tracks, and do other bits and bobs, but I don't do the MCing like I used to do. You were Ash 101 gaming, or something. Yeah, I was. So originally, I was like Ash 101 gaming or something. But yeah, I remember at the time when I started MCing, there was a channel, and I think it's still on the go, but I think it changed its name. You'll remember it. The Irish Rap Movement, I think it was called. And at the time, they were posting all the like Pat Flynn and Lynchy and Wardy, and there was another guy, I forget his name. He was actually quite good. And they were posting loads of stuff, and then there was these other channels that kind of came about. And at the time, that was the buzz for me. So then to get onto one of them channels was like a buzz, but as if you was the guy who used to run it. But yeah, I think I was the first to put you on my channel. Yeah, and they didn't post you. Yeah, I remember, but long time ago. A lot's changed since then. A hell of a lot has changed since then. But yeah, a hell of a lot has changed. So the MCing for me. So when you, like, round the time when you posted me, I can't remember when it was. Like, I've gonna probably say it's gonna be around like 2017, 2018, or something like that. Anyway, so 2019, I started to really progress as an MC to where I started to get bookings in nightclubs to MC. So I met a guy who was running a night in Hull, and he basically just said to me, like, come to this night. and I will, I'll let you grab the mic, and for me, like that was wicked. It was club experience, and I started doing that, and basically it changed me. It opened my mind. Like it was a whole new ball game for me. It was a whole new world, and suddenly I didn't want to sit at home anymore with a Bluetooth speaker spitting to an instrumental. Suddenly I didn't want to sit in a van spitting lyrics anymore. I wanted to be in the nightclubs. I wanted to be on the stage. I wanted to. That was what I wanted to do. And I got this buzz for the clubs, and I started to progress. And then I got a booking in Scarborough. Then I got booked on some D&B nights. And then we came into 2020, and I got booked by the same person officially that used to give me opportunities to grab the mic at his event. It was like the second time he'd officially booked me, and it was quite a big night. They'd got quite some bigger names on and stuff like that, which was crazy. And then the lockdown came. So late 2019, I got a pair of DJ decks to do some like live streams and things online, because I kind of met like I'd say like a group of friends, like a community of friends that were, we were all into rave music, and we'd all kind of like become a part of this radio station, basically called Forever Young Radio, and we all just basically used to live stream and do a slot on there. So I decided that I wanted to get some decks to kind of get back into the whole DJing side of things, and basically do these live streams, do these, like live on the radio, basically. So it was like a Facebook page, and then I think there was an online website that you streamed from. And anyway, to cut the story short, when we came into 2020, we got hit with the lockdown, the coronavirus. We weren't allowed to go out, go into venues, all of that stuff. And by this point, I've said this quite a lot of times on various streams and podcasts and interviews, but by 2020, I'd been constantly for 6 years. I'd been putting out, or 5 years, or whatever it was. I'd been putting out these constant MC videos, these rapping, these lyrics, this rapping, and when I got these club opportunities, it was like a whole different ball game for me. And then when we couldn't go in the clubs, it was kind of like, what am I doing this for? So like before I got to the point of going into the clubs, everything I was doing before was to get to that level to go in the clubs, and then it was like, well, we want you to, we want you at our night on the mic, and that was a buzz for me. So then when the lockdown came, we couldn't do that. I didn't want to just go back to doing videos again. That wasn't me. I felt like a part of me had changed, although I still kind of tried to do it because I had a lot of fans that still wanted me to do it. It was a big part of what they wanted me to do. But then I decided that I'd start going on the decks a bit more, doing more live streams, playing music, doing more radio stations online, and that kind of grew from there. And then I kind of built up this like portfolio of a DJ, and then it's kind of changed now, and now I am gonna say I don't DJ full time. DJing is not a job. It's not something I don't like. I couldn't earn a living off it. But DJing is something that has it's kind of in the process of where it's kind of transformed from a hobby to like a small part-time job. So I think I mentioned this in a stream the other day, that essentially what the score is essentially, I do have a fee that I charge people for bookings, but depending on like what the event is, depending on where I'm going, depending on who it's for, I can sometimes be quite generous, and I'll knock prices off, or I'll still do the odd thing for free, like if it's really going to benefit me. But 9 times out of 10, I have a fee, which it's not a really dear fee in the grand scheme of things. Like to some people, you'd think like, what, you charge all that when you're not so and so. But in all honesty, it's not a mega bad fee. So I charge £150, right? Um, so in the grand scheme of things, I have to travel to an event. Sometimes I might have to stay over, depending where the event is. And then there's my time that I will be on the stage, which sometimes can be 45 minutes, sometimes can be an hour. Normally, I do a lot of sharing of the event, so I'll come live on here, I'll announce the event, I do the aftermaths, I share the event a ton on to Facebook. I do things like, not all the time, but I do things like promo mixes. Then when I'm at the event, because I can MC 9 times out of 10, I'll end up grabbing the mic and then I'll end up hosting a set. Normally, if a DJ doesn't turn up, I'm quite willing to say, look, if you want me to go back on and cover that guy, I'll jump back on and cover that guy. So theoretically, you get quite a lot out of me, and because I love music, and I don't do it for the money. It's not about becoming a millionaire off it, but it's about knowing your worth. So I think, like, I come to an event, I have a good time, I bring a really good wicked energy because I love it. However, like, I can't do it for nothing. It's too much to do it for nothing. So I charge that £150 when I do when I do a nightclub gig. So when I'm not taking my own equipment, when I'm just turning up to a nightclub to play an event where they've got other DJs on the lineup, and I just take my USB stick and play, I charge 150 quid. When I'm doing like a mobile DJ gig where I'm somewhere all night long, where I'm somewhere sort of like, for a good 6 or 7 hours, and I'm taking my own equipment, then I bump the price up, and that I do that sort of, that varies to where I am, to where I'm playing. So like if I'm having to travel, like, when I went to Driffield, for example, to do the book gigs, like, they're now 21 miles away from where I live, so I had to put that into consideration. Then when I took the when I took the when I did the one like in Chesterfield this weekend, there was consideration of, like, I'm travelling all the way to Chesterfield, we're doing 2 nights. So that was where I charged a little bit more to the typical 150, but that's because I'm taking my own equipment. I'm doing more than just turning up and doing an hour's set. Like, I'm doing a good 7 hours there. I'm doing a whole night with different music, and supplying a whole night. I'm doing mic work. I'm doing different genres of music. I'm getting there at a certain time to set equipment up. I'm then packing equipment back down. There's a whole range of different factors, as opposed to like playing a set, turning up 45 minutes before you're due to going on, sticking around for 10 minutes and then leaving. Although, like I say, at some events I do like to stay, I do like to support the events and do all the other thing, but a mobile gig is different to just being asked to go and play at an event and do your hours set. But I think, like, you've got to know your worth, and some people, unfortunately, I've had people like, how much are you for the for this said event, and I've said, like, I'm so and so, and then they've literally, like, that's been too much for them, and um, that is basically how it goes. Unfortunately, some people think that's too much, and they don't want to get it, but it's quite a bargain, really, compared to, like, it's not a really, I don't think it's an extortionate price, but there's people out there that'll do it for nothing, and then sometimes, unfortunately, they get the upper hand because they can book somebody who's going to do a similar thing to what I do for nothing. But then they don't always get the right energy and vibe, and sometimes they can get that free guy, and then they'll maybe sit there and think, you know what, I should have got I should have got, yeah, I should have paid for the guy. It would have been a lot better, but there you go. So it varies, it varies now. So I would say I'm not at the point where I make a full living, or I can call it like a full part-time job. Because I don't gig every single weekend, like all year round. I don't do it all the time, but I do it quite often, and I do get payments from it quite often, which is really good. So it's kind of starting to turn into a little part-time job, and like I never really want to call it a job, because like it's always fun, it's always a hobby to me, and I don't class it as like going to work. Like I enjoy it, I get excited for it, but it has come to the point where I have been able to earn like a small income off of it. It wouldn't be enough to live on, but I've been at the stages where like it's given me a boost. If I get my normal work pay, and I paid bills and everything, and I paid council tax and rent, and I paid my phone bill or whatever it might be, my motorbike insurance, and then I've done this gig, and I've had a pay, I've been able to earn a little bit from the gig, and it's given me a little bit of a boost just to help get some shopping in, or whatever the occasion may be. For example, buying this new phone, the gig I've done this weekend, it gave me, rather than having to go into my work wages and stuff that I really need for bills and stuff, I've been able to say, right, I'm going to buy this new phone. So it really helps for things like that. I mean, I guess I kind of hope it will progress in the future. Like, I don't want to sit there and say, like, I want to earn from music, like, because, like, it's never been about music money for me, as music has always been about, like, the fun and the passion, but, like, achieving goals and dreams. But certainly, when you do look at people like the likes of Andy Whitby, and what they charge a set, and like when they do like 4 gigs in one weekend, and what they're charging per set, and then when you think like how much theoretically they're actually earning, I do sometimes sit there and think, like, I'd love to earn something like that, like, because it would be quite mad to know that, like, I'm gonna do, I don't know, 2 or 3 gigs in one week and do the thing I love, but then like come home and have like all this, all this money. So it's kind of, like, I do it for the love of the music, but it is definitely nice to know your worth and get something from it. And I don't think I'd ever want to go to a point of ripping people off, but I have to, I have to acknowledge my worth. So there we go. So anyway, that is going to do it. Make sure to like, comment, share, all of that good stuff, and we'll see you soon.